Have you ever had a day that pulled you out of bed before the alarm clock? A day so exciting you didn't need to be pushed. Because the pull was stronger than any push, that's what I call a compelling future. A future so magnetic, so clear that it reaches back into the present and says, "Come on, let's go," and suddenly discipline doesn't feel like discipline. It feels like destiny. You see, the clearer you make the picture, the stronger the pull becomes. Vague goals don't pull, they whisper, but they don't shout, and life is too demanding to be moved by whispers. You need a vision that shouts, that grabs you in the morning, that keeps you awake 18/9. A picture that tells you, if you pay the price, this is what you can have. This is who you can be. This is what you can create. And let me tell you something about the future. It's already speaking to you. The question is, do you like what it's saying? If the future you see is filled with disappointment, fatigue, and regret, guess what? It will pull you to, but in the wrong direction, because the future has a force, positive or negative, and if you don't design it by default, it gets designed for you. That's why I say sit down and think. What do you want? Who do you want to become? What places do you want to see? What legacy do you want to leave? Take out a piece of paper and start sketching. Not just the money, money is important. Not just the career, though career is important. But the full life, the health, the relationships, the contribution. The adventure, because a picture half drawn won't pull, only a picture in full color, rich in detail, has the power to drag you across the obstacles. Now some people say, but Mr. Rohn, what if I dream and it doesn't happen? I say, what if you don't dream and it does happen? The average life, the small paycheck, the broken health, the empty calendar, that's the risk you run by not designing. If you reach for the stars and miss, you still land on something better than the ground. But if you don't reach all the ground is guaranteed. So here's the truth. The future is not something to fear. The future is something to be attracted to. The pull of the future is the secret fuel. It makes sacrifice easier. It makes discipline, sweter, it turns the grind into joy. Because the grind is no longer punishment, it's preparation. And once you catch that vision, once you create that compelling future, you won't have to be pushed, you'll be pulled. When I was 25, I thought the big breakthrough would come from luck. Maybe I'd meet the right person. Maybe someone would notice me and open a door, but luck is not a strategy, and hoping. The future will change without you changing. It's a false hope. One evening, I was sitting with Mr. Schoef, and he said something that changed everything for me. He said, "Jim, if you want things to change, you have to change. If you want your future to be different, you gotta be different now." That hit me like a hammer, because up until then, I was waiting on the world to get better while I stayed the same, but that's not how it works. The future doesn't respond to WISHES, it responds to the person you become. Let me put it this way, your skills are the blueprint, your habits are the bricks. And your philosophy, that's the foundation. If you're building a house and the foundation is weak, it doesn't matter how nice the walls look, they'll crumble in time. That's the same with life. If your philosophy is shallow, if your beliefs about work and value and growth are flimsy, the future you build won't hold up under pressure. Now philosophy is just a fancy word for the set of ideas you live by. And here's what IDISCOVRED, small ERRORS, in philosophy, repeated every day, show up years later as disaster, but small DISCIPLINES, repeat it every day, show up years later as fortune. That's the law. You can't trick it, you can't cheat it. You plant corn, you don't get pumpkins. You plant weeds, you don't get roses. The soil doesn't care. It always returns what you put in. So ask yourself, what SEEDS, are you planting for your future? Every conversation, every book, every hour at work, every dollar saved or wasted. They're SEEDS, and they don't disappear, they grow if you want a compelling future. You've got to be intentional with the SEEDS, otherwise weeds take over, and weeds don't need encouragement. Neglect alone is enough. Don't set your goals too low. Don't say, if I could just scrape by, I'll be satisfied. That's not a future, that's a trap, because if your goal is survival, guess what? You attract just enough to survive. But if you design a future of abundance, contribution, and joy, you stretch yourself. And that stretch, that's where the magic happens. I used to think it was greedy to want more. But here's what I learned: it's not greedy to want to be wealthy, healthy, and wise, it's responsible. Because when you're broke, you help many people. When you're sick, you can't show up for your family. When you're ignorant, you can't teach anyone else. But when you design a future of strength, success, and knowledge, you have more to give, and giving is what makes life rich. Imagine you're on a ship heading across the ocean. The question is not will the wind blow. Of course it will, sometimes in your favor, sometimes against you. The question is, did you set the sail? Because if you don't, you'll drift, and drifting never takes you to a compelling future. It only takes you to the rocks. But if you set the sail, philosophy, discipline, design, you can harness even the contrary winds and still arrive at your chosen destination. And here's the most important thing: once you design the future you want, it begins to pull you. The more detail you give it, the stronger the pull. It's not the push of discipline that gets you up early, that keeps you studying, that keeps you saving. It's the pull of the vision. Discipline is necessary, but vision makes discipline easy. So tell me, have you written it down? Not in your head, but on paper, because something almost mystical happens when you take the invisible future and put it into visible words. Suddenly, it's not just a dream. It's a plan, and plans pull harder than fantasy. A fantasy, fads, a plan holds. That's the foundation. Change your philosophy, plant the right seeds, set your sail, and put your future in writing. Once you've done that, you've taken the first step towards creating a future that doesn't just arrive, it arrives by your design. Clarity is power. The future only pulls with strength when the picture is sharp. A vague picture doesn't excite the soul. A blurry vision doesn't get you out of bed. You've got to make it vivid. You've got to make it detailed. I remember when I first started writing out goals, at the beginning I'd write things like, I want to be successful, I want to have more money, I want to be happier. Sounds good, right? But those words didn't move me. Why? Because more is not magnetic. Successful is not specific. Happier is not measurable. It wasn't until I wrote things like, I want to earn $100,000 in the next 12 months. I want to buy a house with a white fence and a library of at least 10 books. I want to take my parents on a vacation to places they've never seen. That's when it became real. That's when the pool started. See, the mind works in PICTURES. If I say apple, you don't see the letters of the word. You see the fruit, and the clearer the picture, the stronger the emotional charge. That's why you've got to make the picture of your future as detailed as possible. Write it out, draw it out, talk about it until it feels alive. But here's what I also learned: the size of your vision, determines the size of your life. Small vision, small life; big vision, big life. And most people sadly live with visions too small. They think, if I could just get by, that would be enough. But just getting by has no pull. It has no magnetism. It doesn't stir the heart. It doesn't call you into greatness. So tell me this: what would happen if you multiplied your vision by 10? Not just enough money to pay the bills, but enough to change your family tree. Not just enough health to survive, but enough energy to run, play, and live. Strong for DECADES, not just enough learning to keep up, but enough wisdom to lead others. Suddenly, the future STARTS calling in. A voice you can't ignore now. There's a danger here. Some people get so inspired by a big vision, they forget the bridge called discipline. They dream of a mansion but swing the hammer. Dream of wealth but study finance. They dream of health but put down the fork, and I say don't fool yourself. The vision pulls, yes, but only if you build the bridge. Dreams without discipline turn into delusion. That's why the formula is simple: clarity of vision plus daily discipline equals a compelling future. Without clarity, discipline feels heavy. Without discipline, clarity feels hollow. But when you combine them, the pull is unstoppable. Let's say we are flying a plane to the East Coast. You don't just point the nose of the plane east and hope we end up in New York. We map it, and then we adjust as we go. That's the same with your life. You can't just say, I want to be rich. I want to be happy. You've got to chart the course mile by mile. And then you've got to adjust when the winds change. Now here's the beauty. Once the vision is clear, obstacles lose their power. Why? Because the vision makes the struggle worth it. A vague dream isn't worth suffering for, but a vivid future, you'll suffer gladly for that. You'll trade late nights and early mornings. You'll skip short-term plesures for long-term joy. Because the pull of the future is stronger than the push of the present. So here's the assignment. Don't just dream detail. Don't just wish right. Don't just imagine design. Put your future on paper in living color. And when you do, you'll notice something remarkable. The future STARTS to speak back. It says, come on, you can do it. Don't quit now, keep going. And suddenly life is not about enduring the present, but about being drawn forward by a vision that let you go. That's the magic of a vivid, magnetic future, and that's the next level. Making the picture so alive, so clear, so big, that it becomes irresistible. A vision is powerful, but without daily practice, it's like a painting hanging in a museum. Beautiful to look at, but not alive in your life. The question is, how do you bring that vision down out of the clouds and anchor it into the ground of daily action? Because the future doesn't arrive in one leap, it arrives in steps, repeated steps. Ordinary steps taken consistently. When I started to change my own life, I didn't win the lottery. I didn't stumble on a miracle. I started keeping a journal. I started reading books. I started changing my conversatons. Those were small changes, but they were daily. And small disciplines, multiplied by time, create the bridge to your future. Think of it like this: your vision is the blueprint, but your habits are the hammer and nails. If you have a grand design, but never swing the hammer, the house never gets built. But if you swing the hammer every day, even for an hour, the walls go up. The roof goes on, and one day you walk through the front door of the house. You design. Mr. Schoff used to say, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And at the time I didn't fully understand it, but he explained. You see your job makes you a living. But your personal growth makes you a fortune. If you just work at your job, you might survive, but if you work on yourself, you can create a future that pulls you forward. So I started a new habit. Every day read for at least 30 minutes. Not the newspaper though that has its place, but books that stretched me. History, philosophy, biographies of successful men and women, and slowly my vision began to feel closer, more real, because I was equipping myself to step into IT, but daily practices aren't just about reading. They're about aligning your present with your future if your future self is healthy. Then today's practice is exercise and good nutrition if your future self is wealthy. Then today's practice is saving investing and developing skills that multiply your income. If your future self is wise, then today's practice is reflection. Journaling and learning, every action is a vote for the future your creating. And measure your progress. Don't just live by vague feelings. Write down your targets. Track your habits. Count the miles you run, the pages. You read the dollars you save, because what gets measured gets improved. The future doesn't pull you by accident, it pulls you, because you're making it visible. Trackability, undeniable, but here's the thing. Neglect works the same way as discipline. Neglect a day, it doesn't seem like much. Neglect a week, still not much damage, but neglect a month, a year. Suddenly, you've drifted so far from the vision you can't even see it anymore. That's the danger of neglect, and the tragedy is it doesn't shout. It whispers, it says, just today you can catch up tomorrow, but the cost of neglect always comes due. The opposite is also true. Discipline doesn't shout either, it whispers, it says. Read the next page, take the next walk, save the next dollar, and in the moment. It feels small, but discipline, accumulatd, becomes destiny. Little steps compound into a future you can't imagine, so here's the lesson: make your future visible. Then align your present practices with it. Don't try to leap there in a day. Take the steps, build the habits, measure the progress, because if you do, one morning you'll wake up and realize you're not chasing the future anymore. The future is chasing you. Excuses are the great thieves of the future. They sound innocent, but they rob you blind. People say, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't have the education, I don't have the connections, and I say stop, that's not the truth. That's just the story you've chosen to tell yourself, and I want to talk about obstacles. Because we all run into them, right? Some people think obstacles mean they're on the wrong path. Not true. See, obstacles are proof you're moving. The mountain shows up because you're climbing. The resistance comes because you're advancing. If your vision is compelling, the obstacles don't weaken you. They strengthen you, they test you, they shape you into the person worthy of the future you design. Think of it like the gym. You don't grow muscle by lifting air, you grow by lifting resistance. The weight is the very thing that makes you stronger in life. Challenges are the weight. And your compelling future is what makes you pick up the bar again and again. Without a vision, the weight feels pointless. With a vision, the weight feels purposeful. And here's the truth: the bigger the vision, the bigger the obstacles. If you design a small future, you'll face small problems. If you design a great future, you'll face great problems. But I'd rather wrestle with great problems that lead to a great life than small problems that lead nowhere. The key is to let the future pull you through the obstacle instead of letting the obstacle block you from the future. One time I was traveling with a friend and we hit terrible weather. Plans were delayed, connections, missed, luggage lost. My friend was frustrated, ready to quit the trip, so I stopped, and I asked him where we were headed. When he answered, I reminded him that the storm didn't change the destination, and he laughed because he knew it was true. The storm just slowed us down, but the destination was still waiting, and that's life. The storms will come, but the future doesn't cancel, it waits. The only question is, will you keep moving? Excuses cancel the journey, obstacles test the journey. But a compelling future guarantees the journey. It keeps you moving. When the push is gone, it gives you energy when fatigue sets in. It whispers to you when the voices of doubt get loud. So, let me challenge you tonight. What excuses have you been holding on to? Write them down, then burn the paper. Tear it up, throw it out, do whatever you must to stop carrying them into your future. Because the future doesn't respond to excuses, it responds to effort, it responds to growth, it responds to courage. And when the obstacles come, don't curse them, thank them. They are your training, they are your proof that the future you designed is worth it. Because if it were easy, everyone would do it, and if everyone did it, the reward would not be extraordinary. Obstacles separate the dreamers from the doers, the talkers from the builders. Let them separate you into the builders' camp. A compelling future doesn't eliminate obstacles, but it does make them bearable, and in time you look back and realize the obstacles weren't just something you overcame. They were the very thing that made you into the kind of person who could handle the future you created. A compelling future isn't just about money. It's about the whole of life, wealth, yes, but also health, relationships, contribution, adventure. If you only design one part of the picture, the rest of your life will stay blurry, and a blurry picture won't pull you with the same force. So ask yourself if you've designed all the areas, or are you leaving some to chance? Because neglect in one area eventually weakens the others. If your health fails, your wealth suffers. If your relationships collapse, your joy diminishes. If your finances are a mess, your options shrink. A compelling future is whole, it's balanced, it's all the pieces working together. And here's what I found: when you begin to design a future that includes all these areas, something happens. Your standards rise. You begin to say, if I can be wealthy, why not also be healthy? If I can be successful, why not also be a great parent? If I can achieve, why not also contribute? And soon the pull is not just from one direction. It's coming from every direction. The future becomes like a magnet with many poles pulling you forward with greater force. So don't just think about money. Don't just think about career. Think about the full picture: wealth, health, relationships, contribution, adventure. That's the kind of future worth designing. That's the kind of future that pulls. At some point, it all comes down to a decision: drift or design, delay or act, average or extraordinary. The future doesn't wait forever, it keeps moving, and if you don't grab hold, you'll find yourself 10 years from now, 20 years from now, asking, where did it all go? I used to say to myself, someday I'll get around to it, someday I'll change, someday I'll be serious. But someday is a dangerous word. Someday robs you of today. Someday keeps you comfortable. While the clock keeps ticking, and the truth is the clock is not your friend. Time is running. The question is, are you running with it or watching it? Here's the call to maturity: take responsibility. Now stop waiting for a better season. Stop waiting for more money, more time, more certainty. If you can't design a compelling future with what you have now, more change you design first, then you grow into it. I've seen people get serious after a health scare, after a financial collapse, after a relationship ended, and I always thought, why wait for tragedy to wake up? Why not let vision wake you up? Why not let the pull of a better future get you out of bed before disaster forces you? That's maturity, choosing to act before you're cornered. So someday life will offer you two roads: the road of drift and the road of design. The road of drift is easy, no effort, no responsibility, just go with the flow. But drift always takes you downhill. The road of design requires thought discipline. Courage but design takes you uphill. It takes you to strength, success, and significance. And here's the truth: nobody can walk that road for you. A mentor can guide you, your friends can encourage you. But you've got to take the steps, you've got to pay the price, you've got to decide. And once you decide, the future will begin to pull you in ways you never imagined. You know two different people. 10 years from now, one is living a life of abundance, health, strong relati and ships contribution, joy. The other is tired, broke, disappointed, full of regret. What's the difference? Not luck, not fate, not chance. The difference is design. One took responsibility, set the sail, drew the picture, walked the road. The other drifted, and the future gave them both exactly what they designed. One by choice, the other by neglect. So don't drift, decide, don't delay. Don't wait for the push, create the pull. Because once you do, the future will reach back and pull you forward. And that's when life becomes exciting. That's when discipline feels like destiny. That's when you're no longer just living, you're being pulled by the power of a compelling future. And here's the truth: you don't get to escape the future. One will come, whether you build it or not. The only question is, will it be the one you wanted, or the one that just happened? And if it just happens, chances are it be the one you dreamed of. Life tends to default to average when you don't design it to be extraordinary. You think you may have plenty of time, some of you have plenty more than me, but seriously, 10 years sounds like a long time. But that same 10 years will pass in the blink of an eye. The question is, where will you be when it does 10 years from now? Will you be proud of your harvest or disappointed with your neglect? 10 years will tell the story, but you write the script tonight. So take out a piece of paper and write down what you want your future to look like, not vague wishes, real details. Write down the income, the health, the relationships, the contribution, the adventure. Write it like it's already real. And then ask yourself, what daily practices do I need to start now? Because the secret is not in someday, the secret is in today. And once you've written it down, make the decision to eliminate excuses, tear them up, burn them. Stop telling yourself the story that holds you back. Replace it with the vision that pulls you forward, because excuses chain you to the present, but vision pulls you into the future. The future is not something to be endured, it's something to be created. And once you create it, it will create you. It will shape you, strengthen you, stretch you. It will pull you across the obstacles, across the fatigue, across the doubts. And one day you will look around and realize you're living the life you once only dreamed about. But it starts now, not tomorrow, not next week, not after the next paycheck or the next promotion. Now, because if you don't start now, the drift begins, and drift is the silent killer of dreams. So will you be a drifter or designer? Will you let the future happen to you? Or will you build a future so compelling, so magnetic that it let you go? The pen is in your hand, the picture is waiting to be drawn, the sail is ready to be set. Choose design, choose vision, choose the pull of a compelling future, and let that future call you forward into the life you were meant to live.